The Dark type, known in Japanese as the Evil type, was added in Gen 2 to balance the Psychic type and quickly became a fan favorite with awesome Pokemon like Houndoom and Umbreon. So today, I'm gonna see if I can be a Pokemon Omega Ruby Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Dark types. The rules are simple, any fainted Pokemon must be permanently boxed and we can only catch the first Dark type encounter in any area. With such limited Dark types until we obtain the National Pokédex, this is gonna get extremely difficult here, especially with the extra Hardcore rule set. To start off in the good old Hoenn region, our mum has shoved us in the back of a moving truck, but that doesn't stop us from being introduced to the marvelous world of Pokemon. So with that, it's time for us to pick our very first Pokemon. Since none of the starters in Hoenn turned into Dark types, I ended up picking Trico. This is because I think Blaziken is going to be the most difficult to face in the end, being a fighting type. So after defeating the evil dog with ease, I decided to capture one for myself on Route 101. I named the Poochyena Meg, and a neutral nature at least isn't bad. I then made my way to Route 102, where I found my second encounter, Seedot. I honestly was quite disappointed with Bonnie having the ability Early Bird instead of Chlorophyll, which would have double her speed during bright sunshine, but that's okay I guess. Wow. The moon is beautiful, isn't it? Continuing, I then proceeded to the Petalburg Woods and had an epic fight against a Team Magma grunt who also possesses a friend of Meg's. And with no hesitation, Meg murders her fellow friend. But just before we take on the first gym, we evolved Barney into a Nuzleaf and learned a new move, Razor Leaf, which is going to be extremely important against the upcoming gym fight. So with that, it's time to take on our first gym battle against Roxanne and her rock types. And I don't think anybody's going to be surprised when I say this gym was super easy, since Barney has just learned a grass type move. Geodude is of course quad weak to grass, so we would have taken that thing out with one shot, but it does live on because of sturdy. And predicting that Roxanne will go for a potion on the next turn, which is proven to be true, we went for growth to boost our physical attack. So with a single super effective Razor Leaf, Geodude was down for the count. Next up was Nosepass, and this can be a tricky one. With Nosepass having a whopping 135 defense for base stats, it was honestly a nightmare of a battle. But with the growth boost that we got, we managed to defeat her with a second Razor Leaf, meaning we beat Roxanne and obtained the Stone Badge. After a monumental victory royale at the gym, we have to help this guy take out Meg's companion once again. But this time, Bonnie decided to have a go at it and slice the dog to pieces. So we received the stolen Devon parts, and as a side quest, we saved Pico the Wingull. For helping the science dude, I was then summoned to speak to the richest man in Hoenn. But instead of receiving money, we had to be a delivery boy? So the old and kind Mr. Briny returned the favor for saving his Pico and took us to Dewford Town. My first order of business upon reaching Dewford is a gym battle that I'm the most worried about. Broly, why are you practicing taking your pants off as fast as possible? It turns out that statement really offended him, so now we're gonna have to fight him. Going into this challenge against Broly and his fighting type is a huge problem for our Dark types. He begun the battle with his Machop, so I started off with Meg. My whole plan for this exceptionally unfair battle is to continuously use Sand Attack. Thankfully, we survived the first Karate Chop, allowing us to land another Sand Attack. If you couldn't tell already, I'm basically sacrificing Meg in order to reduce Machop's accuracy as low as we possibly can. So with Meg's noble sacrifice, we then brought out Bonnie, who's desperately seeking out revenge for his fellow friend. I begun the battle with a growth, hoping that we can raise our physical attack so we can one-shot both Broly's Pokemon. And are you kidding me? His Machop didn't even go for any attacks, meaning Meg's effort was all wasted. So on the next turn, I landed a critical hit with Razor Leaf and the Machop got obliterated. Therefore, his next Pokemon, Muckle Heater, comes out next. And with our physical attack off the chart right now, we took the big boy with a single move. With that, we defeated Broly and received the Knuckle Badge. Unfortunately, with Meg's death, this Nuzlocke gets even harder from here, as we have to take on many tough trainers like May, Team Magma leader Maxi, and several gym leaders. And just using our one and only, the GOAT Barney. So with us continuing our journey to the Grey Knight Cave, where we can't even catch an exclusive Sableye, we now have to deliver Mr. Stone's good to the rock expert Steven. I then hurried back to the open sea once more and sailed my way to Slateport City. Here I have my first run-in with Team Magma, a huge existential threat for my Dark types, as they all have flying and fire types, but we still managed to defeat them all. Then out of nowhere, we were introduced to Maxi, who supports the brand new Mega Google Glasses. After that, we then made our way to Route 110, where we now have to take on one of the hardest battles since the beginning of this Nuzlocke run. And that fight is between the infamous Route 110 May. She's extremely difficult, especially for us. This is because of her Combusken, who has Double Kick and Flame Charge, which can potentially one-shot us. However, since she started with Wailmer, whose moveset's awful against Barney, this gives us the opportunity to increase our stats. Thus, we of course commence with the move Harden, since Wailmer will most likely go for a rollout as her other move is ineffective against us. So after several Hardens, we then begun a growth session. Barney will really need it to defeat the Combusken, since Razor Leaf is our only move. And obviously, grass moves are horrible against that fire chicken. With Wailmer getting one shot, it's now time for the beast Combusken. Here she comes. Bonnie delivers a powerful Razor Leaf, but it wasn't enough, as she goes for a deadly Flame Charge, which Bonnie withstood just barely. Due to the Flame Charge, Kamuskin is now faster than us, but Nuzleaf tanked the peck and we somehow managed to inflict a critical hit. With that, May Shroomish is next. We went for unsurprising Razor Leaf and brought that green fungus's health to the yellow zone, as she went for a pathetic headbutt, but with one more slice on the fungus, she was down. And that's one of the hardest battles complete, as it gets even harder from here. Just before we take on the next gym leader, I went to the Pokemon and bought myself the Power Up TM for $10,000, which I just have enough for. Arriving in front of the gym, I noticed Wally was having an argument with his uncle, how he was suggesting that he became stronger. But of course, just like the kind person we are, I told him no, and immediately sliced his rolls and sent him straight back to home. And now it's time to take on the third gym leader Watson and his electric types. And since Watson has a couple steel types, you might think this gym will be super difficult. But with us recently learning Power Up Punch, this is going to make the fight a lot easier. With Magnemite having the ability Sturdy, the one-shot kill wasn't possible anyway, but Bonnie getting paralyzed definitely was. Magnemite then uses Volt Switch, but since Nuzleaf was also a grass type, electric move isn't going to be too much trouble for us. Thankfully, we did manage to land a Power Up Punch, but unfortunately Magneton also carried out a Supersonic. However, even with the confusion, Bonnie the Goat still obliterated the Magneton, forcing Watson to send back out his Magnemite. And are you kidding me? That thing went for another Volt Switch, hence his Voltorb takes the fight. Even though we got paralyzed, we at least snapped out of the confusion. And with Voltorb going for a charge up, this gives us the chance to land a Razor Leaf and take him down. So with that, there's only one left to go, and the last Pokemon is... oh, hello there, funny seeing you again. But it doesn't matter, as the weak tackle barely made a scratch on us, we annihilated the Magnemite. And that's Watson defeated and Dynamo Badge unlocked. As we're preparing to go to Mount Chimney, May gave us the HM for strength. So afterwards, we then made our way to Falaba Town and received the TM for dig. And this move is going to be incredibly crucial for all the upcoming fights, since many painful fire types are approaching us. But just before we take on Flannery, we first have to deal with Team Magma. The encounter at Meteor Falls is extremely easy, since we have the greatest trainer right beside me. So after defeating them with ease, oh no, it's Archie. Run! So we swiftly scurried to Mount Chimney, where we accidentally came across Maxie. Therefore, we're gonna have our first showdown between Team Magma leader. This was honestly a terrifying battle, as our first opponent is Meg's dad? Oh no. There are many things that really scares me about this fight, and that is his Golbat with Wing Attack. Not to mention, he has a very powerful camera, so even with Mighty Anna confusing us, we still carried out a Power Up Punch. Therefore, Bonnie's physical attack gets exponentially stronger, and with Bonnie bypassing the confusion on the next turn, we deliver a powerful smash and destroy Meg's father, forcing him to bring out his next Pokemon, which is his almighty Camerupt. And the thing is, this battle definitely would have gone horribly wrong, but with us recently learning Dig and our physical attack being powered up, a single move is all we needed to take him out. So with that, Maxie brought out his last Pokemon, Golbat, and with Bonnie snapping out of the confusion, one feint attack decided the whole fight. Nice one there, buddy. Meaning we defeated Maxie. Just before we take on Flannery, I got the TM for Double Team. The purpose for obtaining Double Team is to counter Overheat's accuracy. With Overheat having an accuracy of 90 already, if we manage to get it even lower by increasing our evasiveness, it will greatly increase our chance of winning this impossible battle. So with us using Double Team, we managed to dodge the first attack, and just in case, I utilized one more before it gets too risky and inflicted some damage with a big smash. Slugma then raises special defense, which honestly doesn't matter since we only have physical moves. To finish our Slugma off, Bonnie buried herself underground and then uppercutted the flaming slug. With Slugma defeated, Flannery then brought out her ace Pokemon Torkoal, and this turtle is insane. I mean, just look at that defense. But with us going for a dig, we dodged the first attack and fortunately dodged the probably would have been an instant kill with Overheat. Therefore, with one more super effective dig, we took down her strongest Pokemon. Her last Pokemon is a normal, which isn't a threat at all, since her defense is nothing compared to that turtle, snail, I don't even know. But with that, we defeated Flannery, one of the hardest gym battle, and obtained the Heat Badge. As we exit the fourth gym, our lovely rival May popped out of nowhere and gave us the Google Goggle glasses. But this is where I made the biggest mistake, as she asked me to go back to Petalburg with her. I accidentally said yes. Now I have to run all the way back to Route 111 just so I can finally encounter a new squad member. So after using instant transmission, we found ourselves a Cacnea. I named it Susie, and then I noticed that she doesn't even evolve until level 32, which is beyond the level cap, and she's just a grass type. Therefore, we had to put her back into the PC box. With all this anger building up, I'm gonna unleash it all onto my father. Norman can be a pretty scary opponent since Slacking has the stats of a legendary Pokemon. So I decided our best course of action is gonna be using our only super effective move, Power Up Punch, which at least grows the attack every turn. And thankfully with Slacking having the ability Triumph, we're able to land another attack without taking any damage. However, we do fall asleep afterwards. He then used the move Encore, therefore we are forced to use Power Up Punch for 3 more turns. But with Bonnie having the ability Early Bird, which actually comes in clutch for this battle, she was able to wake up quickly and landed a powerful hit. And with Norman healing Slacking, we followed it up with another attack as he goes for another Encore, which is honestly quite nice since if he used any damaging move, it probably would have ended very badly for Bonnie. But with Slacking beat up, he then brought out the de-evolution and less superior of the Big Ape. With us being only able to use Power Up Punch, which is so sad, not really, we ended up one-shotting Vigoroth. Now, even though we're at +6 attack here, we don't outspeed Slacking, and if he goes for the boosted Retaliate this first turn, which luckily he didn't, therefore we managed to bypass the Swagger's confusion and almost took him out. But unfortunately for him, Truant isn't the best ability, so with Bonnie inflicting the last overpowered punch, Slacking was defeated. So with that, we defeated our father Norman and received the balance badge. As we exit the gym, we got stopped by Wally's dad and was given the HM for Surf. And with our level cap increased to level 35, we can now evolve Suzy into a Cacturne. I then swam across to the other side on Route 118 and was given a good rod by a fisherman. And this started the enormously tedious process of trying to fish up a Kavana, which is a 5% chance. So after about 100 attempts later, I finally found my precious Kavana and I named it Peter. I am filled with joy right now as I noticed that Peter has a naive nature, giving him even more speed. I then made a quick detour back to Route 117 where I picked up another 5% chance encounter, and that's Corefish. Unfortunately, Stewie has a modest nature, which kinda sucks since he's more of a physical fighter, but at least he gets to join the team. Oh boy, not this guy again. Woo! Let's go! Once we arrived to a tropical island, we annihilated some Team Magma admin and was given the Mega Bracelet by Steven. Not long after, Peter also evolved into the almighty Sharpedo. And as we were making our way towards Fortress City, we had to take on another Team Magma admin. And this is a pretty pathetic boss fight since Peter easily one-shot his only Pokemon Camerupt. From there, the only obstacle standing between us and Renona is May. And I gotta say, it felt pretty good to get revenge by taking out every single one of her Pokemon with one hit. So with us winning incredibly easy, May then gave us the HM for Fly. I then picked up a Leaf Stone on Route 119 and finally evolved Barney into a Shiftry, and even evolved Stewie into a Crodont. And just before we take on the next gym, there's one more encounter for us on Route 120, and that's the majestic Absol, which I named her Lois. Oh no, not him again. Ooh, nice VR headset. Ah, a monster. So after another adventure with Steven, it's time to face Riona and her flying types. Now, this is a fight that I'm actually not that scared of. This is because I have a pretty fast shark on my team who has some powerful feints which can potentially freeze a whole team with a single bite. With Swallow going for a double team, things were looking rough. Psych, we landed a single Ice Fang and KO'd her. Her next Pokemon is her Ace Altaria, but unfortunately for her, with Ice type being quite effective, one Ice Fang took her out, which forces Renona to bring out probably the most painful Pokemon for us to fight against. Pelipper is pretty bulky in terms of defense, and with Peter only having Slash and Ice Fang, which are physical moves that can do decent damage to her, this battle was extremely painful and annoying. Not only that, this stupid bird also has Protect and Roost, therefore stalling this battle even longer. So throughout this whole fight, I was either attempting to inflict a critical hit with Slash or get that 10% chance freeze with Ice Fang. But of course, none of those things happened as Pelipper continued to spam Protect and Roost. But eventually, after she went for an Aerial Ace, we managed to put a critical hit with Slash at last, and finally obliterated the Pelipper. Thank you, my god Arceus. Her last Pokemon is probably just as bad as Pelipper. I mean, just look at that crazy defense. Like, how am I even supposed to deal any damage to this thing? Well, actually, I did notice that Surf can be used now since Skarmory doesn't really have great special defense. So with Renona using her first Hyper Potion, I was honestly pretty scared that Skarmory might take Peter out. But thankfully, the second Surf succeeded in defeating Skarmory, meaning we beat Renona and obtained the Feather Badge. With Renona defeated, I first went to the Safari Zone and picked up the Mega Stone for Absol, which is probably the only Pokemon that we can Mega Evolve for the rest of the Nuzlocke. And then once I reach Lily Cove City, we have to have another fight with May. And this could potentially be super scary, since in this game, she does have a fully evolved Blaziken. And I did equip Absol with his Mega Stone, therefore I think we'll be fine here. Ooh, here it goes, our first ever Mega Evolution time. Ooh, Mega Absol. But of course, Swallow still managed to surpass us in speed as we began our first setup with Sword Dance. Wait, how am I faster than her now? Huh? I don't get it. Well, anyway, I used another Sword Dance, therefore our physical attack is now maxed out, making Absol literally a beast, taking down the Swallow with a single hit, then the Giant Whale, the Green Mushroom, and finally her ace Blaziken. After defeating May, I set my sights on Moss Deep City and start by heading to the top of Mount Pyre. And this is where we found Maxie stealing the Red Orb to awaken Groudon's true power. Therefore, in order to stop him, I got possessed by the Blue Orb. We then have to visit the Team Magma's hideout, where we attempted to stop Maxie from escaping from his cute submarine. But of course, Admin Courtney tried to stop us and unfortunately succeeded. Anyway, now that we settle in Moss Deep City, it's time to take on the 7th gym versus Tate and Liza. Now, this fight is certainly a lot more tricky in Emerald, and the fact that we have all dark types, which are super effective against both Solrock and Lunatone, this definitely helped us out. I begun the battle by Mega Evolving Lois into Mega Absol, and then I went for a Surf with Peter so he can do incredible damage to both Pokemon, which allows our Majestic Absol to finish off the Lunatone. And with Solrock going for Solar Beam, this gives us the chance to finish it off with a crit with Night Slash. With that, we easily defeated Liza and Tate and received the Mind Badge. As we exit the gym, we see that Team Magma plan to drown out the ocean is in full motion. I beg Steven, the champion of the region, to deal with these environmental terrorists, but the champion kindly denies it and instead gave us the HM dive and told us to deal with it. This means we have to continue our chase after Team Magma for the final showdown. This isn't actually something I'm too afraid of since we can pick up the TM for Earthquake right before the fight. Oh crap, it's Archie, run!
Ho ho ho, are you serious? Just stay.
Okay, so with that, it's time to take on Maxi, the final Team Magma showdown. This is actually a pretty difficult fight since we get to battle our first Mega Evolution of the run. But actually, the main threat of this battle is Crobat. With Crobat having a base stat of a tremendous 130 for speed, I feel like even Peter with his naive nature wouldn't be able to outspeed it. Not only that, Crobat has Acrobatic, which is one of the most powerful flying types move in the game. Therefore, my strategy to counter it is to spam Double Team with Barney, raising our evasiveness in hope for Crobat to most likely miss its attacks. So after our 5th Double Team, I went for a Power Up Punch, bringing Mighty Ennis health about halfway as our physical attack increases. He then went for a Taunt, but with one more Power Up Punch, Megfather is down once again, which forces Maxi to bring out his second Mon, Weezing. And luckily for us, Weezing went for 2 Sludge Bomb in a row and missed both of them. Therefore, with 2 unmissable feint attacks, we annihilated the Weezing. Next up was Crobat, and with Crobat missing the first Acrobatic, the second Acrobatic, we managed to defeat him with ease. Therefore, it's time for his final Pokemon, Camerupt. And just as we expected, Maxi Mega evolved him into Mega Camerupt, which isn't that much of a menace at all. With his speed getting even lower, we went for a dig, dodging his yawn, and then took him out with one bang. And that's the final fight with Maxi. Put those goggles back on.
Okay, I am sorry.
The guy then tries to ruin the world by unleashing Groudon, the ultimate ground type. And for whatever reason, Champion Steven thinks it's a good idea to send a 10-year-old boy to ride on this thing's back into a volcano. And it's safe to say that Groudon didn't enjoy me jumping up on his back, and he reverted back into his primal form. And now I have to fight it, which is pretty scary. Not really, as we ended up throwing a Master Ball at it. Zootopia City then exploded, and radioactive waste scattered all over Hoenn. But with the world saved, Professor Birch thanked us by upgrading our piece of electronic into the National Pokédex. Therefore, we can now make some new encounters. First off, on Route 113, we found ourselves a Scraggy with neutral nature, and I named him Tom. Not too far from here, I then made my way to Route 114 and caught myself a Skorupi and called him Adam. I chose to add Skorupi to the team since he can learn different types of feint, which I feel like it will be extremely useful against most of the upcoming battles. Therefore, unfortunately, someone has to get replaced from the team, and our Pokemon is Susie. You will be missed. As the next gym leader is a water type, I decided to evolve Adam into a Drapion. And then from here, I started my hard scale hunt in order for me to teach him Thunder Feint. So with that, it's time to face Wally for the 8th and final gym badge. Now, I'm not sure if you're an educated Pokemaniac such as myself, but water types don't exactly match up well versus grass types. And unfortunately for us, with Luddish landing a Sweet Kiss on Barney, we are now confused, therefore missing our first attack. She then went for a Draining Kiss, which didn't do too much, even though it was super effective. But with Barney bypassing the confusion, we took down the Love Disc. He then brought out his next Pokemon, the beautiful Milotic. But with Barney snapping out of the confusion, we inflicted a super effective Leaf Blade and one-shotting the Milotic. His next Pokemon is Celio. Honestly, we didn't even need Adam's Thunder Feint. So with Celio down, we made Wally bring out his next fish, Big Fish, Seeking, who also got obliterated with one Leaf Blade. Now, there's only one left, and that's Whiscash. Grass type moves are quite effective against Whiscash. Therefore, he obviously got destroyed with one attack. And with that, we defeated the final gym leader and obtained the Rain Badge. Before we head to Victory Road, I picked up the TM for Brick Break and then backtracked to Lavage Town to receive Sword Dance. Afterwards, Tom evolved into a Scrafty. So with all those preparation, I then made my way up to the waterfall to Victory Road. Before we entered the Elite Four, we got challenged by our rival Wally. He can be kinda tough since he has a Mega Gallade, but other than that, not much. He lives with Ataria, which goes down with a single Ice Fang from Peter. His next Pokemon is Roselia, who got obliterated with a single attack. But sadly, we got poisoned. So with Wally bring out his next Pokemon Magneton, I switched Peter out for Barney and annihilated Magneton after 2 Power Up Punch. Next up was Delcatty, who got taken out with one blow. And then lucky last is his Ace Gallade, even though Wally Mega evolved Gallade into Mega Gallade. With Barney's physical attack boosted and Gallade's poor defense, we managed to outspeed him and got the one-shot kill. Sorry Wally, you might have to go back home. Therefore, we can now move on to the Elite Four. Now, here's my final team going to the Elite Four, and you notice right away that I'm only level 52. which is the highest level of Sydney's Pokemon. First up, we got Bonnie with Feint Attack, Brick Break, Leaf Blade, and Sword Dance. Next, we got Peter with Ice Fang, Waterfall, Earthquake, and Crunch. Following is Stewie with Crab Hammer, Crunch, Brick Break, and Sword Dance. Then we got Lois with Night Slash, Sword Dance, Psycho Cut, and Aerial Ace. Next is Tom with Bulk Up, Crunch, Brick Break, and Double Team. And finally, Adam with Fire Fang, Earthquake, Thunder Fang, and Sword Dance. Now let's see what they got to offer. So first off is Sydney, who specializes in Dark-type Pokemon just like us. He's honestly a bit of a warm-up since his highest level Pokemon is the lowest in comparison to the other Elite Four. Sydney starts out with Mighty Anna, so I go into Bonnie, who gets his attack weakened by the Intimidate. But with Bonnie going for a Sword Dance, we simply raise our physical attack back as Mighty Anna give us even more attack but with a cost. And that side effect hit us back alongside some extra damage from the takedown. However, by bypassing the confusion, we managed to one-shot the Mighty Anna with a Brick Break. Next up is Absol, and unfortunately for him, he goes down with a single Brick Break too. And I think we all know which Absol is better too, forcing Sydney to use his Sharpedo. Wow, this guy really is copying my Pokemon now. Therefore, we annihilated Peter's twin while taking some minor damage due to Rough Skin. His next Pokemon is Shiftry. Wait, are you serious? You copycat. Hence, we taught him a lesson by defeating his Shiftry with one powerful Brick Break. Sydney then brought out Susie's older brother, who's desperately seeking revenge for his younger sister who got bitten by a horrible trainer. So with us learning to attack this time, we defeated Susie's brother, meaning we defeated the first Elite Four, Sydney. And it only gets harder from here. This means we move on to the second Elite Four member, Phoebe, and her ghost types. Phoebe got some pretty bulky Pokemon, particularly that Dusknoir that can be very difficult to deal with. This is because she has all the elemental punches. But luckily for us, with us starting with Lois, who can Mega Evolve and is just a pure Dark type, this means that we will not take any super effective damage since Phoebe's whole team doesn't have any fighting, bug, or fairy type moves. Therefore, we've begun the battle with Sword Dance to raise our physical attack, hoping that we're able to one-shot her whole team. So with a single powered up Night Slash, we easily defeated Dusclops. But with Curse onto us now, things can get a bit trickier from here, especially when this move continuously drains my health. So next up, it's Sableye. And with Sableye letting a fake out, it flinched us. And what's worse is that Curse is about to take Lois's life. Therefore, I swapped her out for Tom. With Sableye's moveset pool consists of moves that are ineffective against Tom, this gives us the opportunity to keep going for Crunch, without worrying about taking a lot of damage. So with one more Crunch on the next turn, we destroy the Red Eye monster. And what's so good about Tom is of course that Moxie ability. Phoebe then sends out her ace Pokemon Dusknoir, but unfortunately for her, with Dusknoir horrible speed stat of 45, we outspeeded her and munched the ghost to pieces, as our physical attack gets even stronger. Phoebe then brings out her first Bayonet, and sadly for us, she has Will-O-Wisp. Thus, not only are we burned, our physical attack is decreased by 50%, but with Tom's attack increased so tremendously, it honestly doesn't matter. Finally, she got one more Bayonet, and even though he outspeeded us, he couldn't do much of his current moves. Therefore, a single Crunch took him out, which means we defeated the second Elite Four, Phoebe. Next up is the third Elite Four, Glacier, and her Ice types. She isn't too much of a trouble since her Ice type aren't super great with our Pokemon besides Barney. Glalie was her first choice, so I've decided to go for Adam. This is because Glalie's only damaging move on Adam is Ice Shard, which only has a base power of 40, therefore it wouldn't harm us that much. So with a powered up Fire Fang, we almost took him out as he sets up a Blizzard. She then went for a full restore on the next turn, thus I went for a Sword Dance to further enhance our attack. So with Glalie going for Ice Shard, which we withstood pretty easily, we defeated him with a powerful Blazing Bite, forcing her to bring out her first Frost Slash. And unfortunately for her, she got burned to a crisp with Adam's crazy heat intensity. With her first Frost Slash getting cooked up, she then brought out another one, and this poor thing just came out to say hello and immediately got overcooked. Glacier then sends out her ace Wolverine. Sadly, both of us missed the first attack, but on the next turn, we managed to land a crit with Thunder Fang and took him out, meaning there's only one left, and that's her second Glalie. And with no surprise, a single Sizzling Fang annihilated the Glalie. So with that, we defeated Glacier without losing a single Pokemon so far. It's now time for the true test of the whole Elite Four versus Drake and his Elite Dragons. This man has a lot of extremely fast dragons, and my only way to try and match his speed is by using Peter. Luckily, Peter has Ice Fang, which is quite effective against Altaria, hence defeating it with a single hit. This forces Drake to bring out his second dragon, Flygon, and sadly for her, Flygon is also time weak to Ice type moves, making Drake send out one of his most superior mons. With Salaman's Intimidate weakening attack, this is where it gets complicated for Peter. However, he still managed to take down Salamence with a follow-up Ice Fang. Drake then brought out his second Flygon, but with Peter's attack decreased, we couldn't take him out with one Ice Fang, even though it's quite effective against him. And with Flygon being fully healed, we somehow got the 10% chance freeze with Ice Fang. But of course, he uses another full restore, therefore removing the status effect as we inflicted some great damage again. Sadly, we missed the finishing move as he landed the 55% chance Supersonic. We hit ourselves because of the confusion, and then Flygon went for an Earthquake to finish Peter off. Therefore, we now got our second death in the Nuzlocke run. Bonnie's anger is overflowing right now, so with a powerful Leaf Blade, Flygon was defeated. devastated. Drake then sends out his last Pokemon, Kingdra, so I went for a Leaf Blade, bringing his health about halfway as he goes for a Pathetic Yawn, but with one more stab to the Seahorse, Kingdra was down. Therefore, we defeated the final Elite Four, meaning there's only one more trainer to go. Honestly, the Elite Four was just a warm-up, and so far the stars have been totally aligned for us. However, this is the moment we all been waiting for, the final fight with Champion Steven. He might be the strongest trainer right now, but my Dark types and I would do our best to steal that title. It's time to face our final opponent of the run to decide the fate of our Dark types. Steven Stone is a master of steel types, which you might think will make it very easy for some of our Pokemon that has fighting type moves. However, they are bulky and some even has sturdy. He lives with Skarmory, so I decided my best bet is to send out Adam. With Thunder Fang doing barely any damage, I started setting up Sword Dance to increase my physical attack. This is because Skarmory doesn't have any effective move on Adam, so with another Sword Dance on the next turn and taking a Steel Wing, which brought Adam's health about halfway, I then made my move and bypassed the sturdy since I already lost some health and defeated the Metal Bird. Therefore, Steven then brought out his big and tanky Aggron. Unfortunately, with Aggron's attack being so high, I begun with an Earthquake even though I expected a sturdy in order to sacrifice Adam to make a safe swap. Hence, we got our third death in the run. Tom comes out next, and anticipating that Steven will go for a full restore, I went for a bulk up to increase our physical attack and defense so we can hopefully survive his next attack. Thankfully, with Aggron missing Iron Tail, we damaged him with Brick Break once, actually make it twice, without taking any damage. And with Tom defeating a Pokemon, this means Moxie activates. His next Pokemon is Claydol. Claydol went for Reflect, which increases his whole team defense. This is extremely annoying since all of our Pokemon moves are physical too. So with Claydol landing a not too powerful Earth power, we inflicted one almighty crunch and annihilated the Claydol. And of course, Moxie activates once again. Steven's following Pokemon is Cradily, and since Cradily is a rock type, a single powered up Brick Break took her out and removing the Reflect. And of course, Moxie activates once again. He then sends out his second fossil Pokemon, Amaldo, but since he's a bug type, we had to go for a crunch, which fortunately decreases defense. Steven then went for a full restore, but with the reduced defense, one more crunch was all we need to take him out. And would you like to guess, Moxie activates once again, meaning there's only one more Pokemon left to go, and that's his ace Metagross. And with no surprise, he Mega Evolved his Metagross into Mega Metagross. But unfortunately, with him missing the Giga Impact, we managed to land the final crunch and defeated the almighty Metagross. So with that, we defeated Steven and became the champion of Hoenn. Hoenn is one of my favorite regions, so with us beating a Hardcore Nuzlocke in Pokemon Mega Ruby with only Dark types, I cannot be any happier. It was honestly so fun completing this, and I'll definitely be doing it again. If you guys have any other suggestions, please comment down, it will help out a lot. So until next time, goodbye.